an article that came out. This is on Noisy Pixel. Capcom's Kunitsu-Gami Path of the Goddess falls short of sales expectations despite positive reviews. So this is unfortunately something that I sort of expected. Kunitsu-Gami, if you don't remember, is a game that Capcom was showing off for a while. They put out like 2 or 3 trailers that they played during some shows, and I did not really know what it was about. I didn't really care about it until I saw that it had a demo out, and I decided, and I saw that it was getting insane reviews. I checked out the demo, and I talked about it on the podcast. I loved the demo. I thought it was really cool. This article basically says, this is coming from GameBiz. GameBiz.jp. Okay, so this is a translation of an article. Capcom basically said that despite the positive critical reception the game has received from players and critics, it has failed to meet sales expectations. They noted insufficient. I think this is this article says marking. I want to say it's marketing. I think they meant marketing. Insufficient marketing and failure to generate hype before the title's release. And I would actually agree with them on that quite a bit. I think that this Kunitsu-Gami was a game that was failed in maybe every single way by its marketing, despite being something that I think you could easily sell to maybe not a huge audience, but for the budget that I kind of get the impression it was at, a much bigger audience. First of all, the name is bad. I understand people were comparing it to Okami. Okami is 3 letters and is very easy for a non-Japanese speaker to say and remember. Kunitsu-Gami, I couldn't even remember I think when I sat down to talk about the game, I couldn't even I was like, was it Kinutsu or Kinitsu-Gami? It's just that game with the Japanese name that just, maybe it works in Japanese, but I think that for an international release, they should have localized the title to something else. They should have picked something that maybe translates a little better. Kunitsu-Gami should mean Kunitsu-Gami meaning local deity or gods of the land. Yeah, you can come up with a better name than that. So God of the Land, Path of the Goddess. If they just called it Path of the Goddess or something like that, because that's actually descriptive. You are literally, the game is, every level is about making a path for a shrine, like for like a princess, shrine maiden, maybe goddess incarnate. So first of all, the branding is bad. It is a difficult title to remember because you've got these weird kind of Kunitsu-Gami, like very Japanese sounding, but not very easy to remember. It just kind of, you ever have that thing where you're watching an anime and there's just way too many fucking characters and they all have Japanese names and you can't keep them straight without looking at them, without seeing the character themselves? Like, you're like, wait, who is that again? Like, at a certain point, a lot of the names, especially if they're not in your native language, kind of start to blur together. Second of all, like in talking about branding, I discovered this when looking it up. I was like, man, this game's like cover art, for lack of a better word, like the poster art essentially that you'd see on online storefronts, is not very good. You can barely even see, it's like weirdly washed out with this like golden layer over it. It's just really, it's like a close-up of something. It's clearly like supposed to be a traditional Japanese like woodblock painting, like an ukiyo-e, but it's just hard to, the composition and the way that it's cropped is not good for understanding like anything. You just see Japanese. I saw some people saying it looks like a visual novel. That's what you get from it. Nothing to communicate to you that this is a tower defense hack and slash game, which I think is a very appealing concept to many people. Not everyone's going to be into it, but I think a lot of people would be more interested if you told them about that. Second of all, the trailers were not very good. I remember watching at least 2 trailers for this during various award shows and summer games showcases and stuff like that. And I just did not really understand what the game was. It didn't do, I think I said maybe back when I talked about the demo, but I feel like if Nintendo made this trailer, it would be way better. I feel like if Nintendo had made trailers, it would be way better, because Nintendo actually focuses on presenting their games in a way to tell you exactly what the gameplay is about. There's just something about them that's something about their editors that are just really good. Whoever they get to do their trailers for their games is really good at giving you, here's the concept. Here's what's interesting about the gameplay. It focused a lot on, like, I don't know, the world and the setting, which are like fine. They're kind of cool, you know, but not the first thing I would sell people on. You know, there are so many games set in like fantasy or historical fantasy Japan nowadays that showing someone this is like, it doesn't do much to stand out. It also doesn't have a particularly stylized art style like Okami did that, you know, in its day made it stand out a lot. It's, you know, Kunitsu-Gami has a very, it just kind of looks like an RE Engine game without a ton of special filters or shaders or anything. That's just kind of what it looks like. It's a very cool game. And I think the comment that stuck out to me the most was someone saying, this is the type of game that in 10 years, I am going to want to play another game like it, and I'm going to be disappointed because there won't be any others. It's going to be the only game of its kind. And unfortunately, I really do think that the marketing let it down. I don't think that it's a game that exactly failed on its own merits. I've heard some people say that deeper into the game, it gets kind of a little repetitive. I get it. I mean, I feel like most tower defense games kind of fall into that camp. You have to really like tower defense to want to go through like all of them in a lot of cases, but that is such a, I don't think people I don't think people pass games up based on, oh yeah, like 15 hours in, it gets a kind of repetitive. I don't think people pass up a game on that. I really do think it was the way that they marketed the game that let it down. Certainly like a kind of niche game, but something that had a lot of potential. It was pointed out to me that let me look. Hang on, let me look up the guy. Let me look up the director of the game, because he made. Dude, for a second, when I was scrolling down the Moby game page, I thought I saw Clover, and I was like, what? I guess they got the Okami on the brain. This game reviewed so well. It's insane. Because the guy had director Shuichi Kawata. He was an art director on, what is this? Is this the same game? Well, this is the first game. No, this is the first game that he was an actual lead director on. This is like his game. He has been an art guy at Capcom since 2003. His first game was Tenchu: Wrath of Evan on PlayStation 2. He was like a cinematic designer. I'm assuming that's I don't know exactly what that entails, on the original Resident Evil 4. He worked on Lost Planet. He did a lot of like cinematics and art direction on like Resident Evil games. A lot of Resident Evil. And this was like his first breakout thing of like, he's the director. And I want to repeat, I think, what I said when I talked about the game last time, which is, I think that this is a guy who has a lot of potential to make something really cool. A lot of people describe this as, this feels like a pet project or a passion project. And I think that's a good thing. I think it's really cool to see so much funding given towards a game that, the way I describe it is, it feels like a game that someone really wanted to make. Like you had this idea and you're like, oh, there's like no game like this. I have to make this. I have to do this idea because no one else is doing it. And I am so into it. That's what Kunitsu-Gami felt like to me, and that was really, I could feel it through the screen, and that was really nice. And I think that being able to take a concept like that, which hasn't been, as far as I know, not done that. I guess, I don't know, Brutal Legend, maybe. And to make something that I thought was really fun, of what I played of it, shows a lot of potential. And my whole thing was, they should get this guy to work on like a bigger, safer title. They should get this guy to work on something else, because it seems like he can organize a team and direct a game pretty competently to put out a good product. I hope that the next thing, I like despite the fact that this is a failure, I hope that Capcom can take good lessons from Kunitsu-Gami, and I appreciate the fact that they actually cited the marketing of the game, because I think that is the biggest problem that it had in gaining sales, specifically gaining sales. The worst thing would be, well, new ideas are bad. We just have to play it safe. I think that's the worst conclusion that they could draw from this. I hope that they won't. And I hope that the guy who directed it, Shuichi Kawata, they actually do believe in his ability to make something. We'll see in a few years. So yeah, unfortunately, Kunitsu-Gami was a bit of a sales disappointment, but hey, who knows? Maybe in 5 years, this will be like one of those situations where it's a game that only grows in appreciation as people kind of... There's going to be someone who like totally champions this game and is like, I don't know, like Asura's Wrath or something like that, another Capcom game. Metal Gear Rising was another game I remember kind of coming out and just sort of, it was here and there, and I don't remember it making a huge splash when it came out. And then year by year, it just kind of grew a little bit, and people started talking about it, and then people started talking about it more, and then more people started checking it out. So it can absolutely happen. The long-term sales of something are absolutely a factor, I think it's fair to say that in the first year of something's release, it didn't sell well. That's fair. But, Capcom is no stranger to that. I believe there's some kind of anecdote about how the Street Fighter live-action movie, the Hollywood one that is kind of wonderfully bad, that movie through like television syndication has made Capcom like $1 billion. There was some anecdote about how like the Street Fighter movie has literally funded like multiple Capcom games in their entirety. Because over the years they just we get a little bit from it being played on TV here and then over here, and then we re-release it, and then because they didn't have to invest very much to make it. It was like the studio that took the hit, so they took all the benefit from it.